Sophia, Hotep, Kamusta. Welcome to the Mind of Ro page. I am the Queen of Skulls. So today I'm going to make a video on jealousy. So I did make a video a way long time ago about jealousy, but it was about dealing with jealous people. It wasn't really about, well, I mean, a little bit dealing with your own jealousy. So I'm going to go more into depth about dealing with their own jealousy. A lot of people say, oh, I never get jealous. But we always get a little bit jealous sometimes here and there. So my last video I actually made was on steps to healing from domestic violence. So I am a domestic violence survivor. So if you like that kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mind of Ro. I also have a TikTok and an Instagram and an X at Mind of Ro. And I also have a Facebook business page at the Mind of Ro. And I also do readings. So if you would like to get a reading done, go ahead and message me on my Instagram or my Facebook page. And I also have a new clothing line. So if you like spiritual type of stuff, go ahead and check out the link down below in the comments or description area. So first of all, what is jealousy? So jealousy is basically the feeling of envy when someone wants something that another person has. So number one is kind of the obvious. Usually jealousy comes from a limited mindset, or it could even come from a impoverished mindset when it comes to being jealous of someone else's money. The reason why I say that is because for some reason, some people think that the world is limited or that the universe is limited. And like if you see somebody with money that lives across the street from you, some people might have this weird belief like, oh, well, there's not enough money to go around, or if you're successful, then I can never be successful. And that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And like, we always go online all the time. I go online all the time and we see somebody else, like maybe they're prettier than us, maybe they seem more successful, and we get jealous sometimes as people, especially online, especially like I know that Instagram is known to trigger those feelings a lot due to especially like a lot of models on there, and people always is showing images and flaunting their new car or making it seem like their life is perfect, and because that's what they kind of want to promote. So I also want to point out that a lot of social media isn't real, and we got to understand that, and I'm not saying that it's okay to always like suppose the worst in everybody, but a lot of times people do it on purpose for followers and for views, and a lot of it's not even real. A lot of it's like edited. A lot of it is just basically to promote a lifestyle, to try to make money off of, maybe they're selling something to you. And that's what it's meant to do. So a lot of times, number one, I think the main thing is basically having a limited mindset and actually having this weird subconscious belief or fear that there's some kind of limit to abundance. Just because somebody else has a bunch of money doesn't mean there's no more money left for you. Like, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful too, you know, or just because somebody has a car you always wanted and you don't have it doesn't mean that's like the last car in the world. It's not the last model that anyone could ever buy, you know what I mean? So like, if we have to really evaluate when we do feel jealous of what somebody has and we don't have it, like honestly, like what are you really jealous of? You know, because it doesn't mean that you can't have it yourself. You know, you can still have the car, you can still have the home, you can still have all the money that person has. It's not limited. It's not like this because they have it, it's like all of a sudden now you can't. You know what I mean? So I think that it's a limited mindset and a impoverished mindset, because a lot of times I want to say impoverished is because a lot of jealousy can usually be based off looks about another person, and it also can be jealousy based on, majority of the time when I see people jealous, it's always about somebody being prettier, more attractive than them, or it's because somebody else has more money or they're more successful than them, or maybe even being jealous of somebody's happiness. So just because somebody else is happy doesn't mean that you can't be happy. It's not like that person just took all the happiness out of the world and it doesn't exist anymore. You know? So I think it's a limited mindset, and it's a like I said, poverty mindset to believe that there's not enough to go around. So I want to remind everybody who's watching that there's always enough to go around. You could be just as successful as your neighbor. You could be just as happy as your best friend. You could be just as pretty to yourself or other people as anybody else in the world. And we could take the time, all of us need to take the time to work on ourselves. All of us need the time. If you want the money that your neighbor has, then do what you need to do to get it. So like being jealous doesn't make any sense to me when it comes to like someone else's success. It's kind of like, well, I think if you meet somebody really successful, instead of being jealous of them, it's good to ask, well, how did you get there? You know, because you're kind of the sum of the people you hang out with, you know. And I honestly think if you want to be a millionaire, then you probably, instead of being jealous of the millionaires, maybe you should hang out with them and learn from them. So instead of being jealous, be around them, hang out with them, and learn from them, so you could be part of the millionaire group. You know what I mean? So, and also, it comes with insecurities, believing that you can't do it yourself. So definitely we need to watch on that. So if you feel jealous, we need to like honestly really evaluate, like, what am I doing that's keeping me from having that car that I've always wanted, but instead somebody else has a car that I've always wanted? Or what am I not doing and somebody else is doing, that somebody else is having so much business and I'm not? What do I need to do to fix that issue? You know, so instead of getting upset or feeling a type of way about someone else's success, I think it's always good to evaluate ourselves and find out, like, what am I doing that's holding me back, that's stopping me from being great, as the person that I'm jealous of. You know, what is really usually what it is. It's obviously something that they have that we want. So if we don't have it, we have to really evaluate and ask ourselves why not? What are we doing that we need to fix, that we need to adjust, or what do we need to do more of so we could actually get whatever it is that we're jealous of? And we need to take accountability for that, honestly. Number two, this is one thing I've never heard anybody touch base on. This is something that I've realized due to myself, going through domestic violence and I've been abused a lot growing up. My mother was very abusive towards me. So number two is sometimes you could actually be a jealous person due to conditioning from abuse. So what I mean by that is there was a time where I was dating a very narcissistic, abusive person, and he used to do things like try to flirt with women in front of me on purpose. And say like comments like, oh, look at her butt and blah, blah, blah. Oh, she has a bigger butt, nicer butt than you, or she's prettier than you. So if you've ever been with a narcissistic partner, you will never be enough to a person like that. If you had like an abusive parent, like I grew up with a very abusive mother, and no matter what I did, it was never good enough. No matter what you did, no matter how much you tried, no matter how much you worked on yourself, they always find something to pick out in you and say why you're faulty, why you're not good enough, why you're not pretty enough, why you're not successful enough, why you're not handsome enough, why you're not strong enough, why you're not. They will pick out everything they can. And if you're going through this for years and years and years, especially from childhood, and then you're with somebody that's supposed to love you and be with you and comfort you, but instead they're constantly putting you down, you will be conditioned to be a jealous person. The reason why I say that is because you have somebody there constantly telling you that you're not good enough, ever. No matter what you do, you're not good enough. So this is something that when I left my domestic violence situationship, I took years to evaluate and work on myself, to where when you're being abused by somebody, abusive people are actually jealous people. They are insecure people, and what happens is you tend to soak up their energy and you tend to copy the things that they do. So if you have a very abusive partner, or have been with abusive people, or if you have very abusive parents, or just been abused by anybody in general, especially for a long period of time, they will actually condition you to behave like a jealous person due to telling you that you're just never good enough. Therefore, they will embed it into your mind that you will never be good enough, then everybody else is better than you. And I've dealt with that for many, many years. And then I had to evaluate those feelings and realize that that wasn't that person before I started being with that person. And I kept feeling like I don't feel like I'm actually jealous of that person, because I don't actually want what that person has. what it is the voice of your abuser in the back of your head repeating themselves over and over and over again. And if you're not dealing with that, and if you're not healing from that, and if you're trying to bury it, as in you don't want to revisit those voices in your head that's actually there due to abusive people. Like, for example, like when I was little, I felt like I always had to be doing something. I always had to be doing chores, whatever. So I tend to be a little ADHD now as an adult. I feel like if I lay down for too long, I'm gonna get in trouble or something like that. So it's always like that voice in the back of my head, and my mom is saying, "You're lazy. You need to get up and do something." We have these voices in the back of our head that's due to an abusive parent or abusive ex, or just an abusive caregiver or an abusive sibling or whatever it is. Maybe an abusive friend, whatever, and they repeat if you haven't taken the time to heal from that, it'll literally repeat and rewind and repeat over in your head over and over and over again. And then you would actually convince yourself and believe that it's your idea that you made up yourself. And sometimes you didn't even come up with that idea. It was actually just embedded into your mind from another person or multiple people that have put it into your mind over and over and over and over again that you're not good enough. And you can never do that, and you can never achieve that, or you're not smart enough to achieve that, or you don't have enough to achieve that, or whatever reasons that they give you. You know what I mean? And that would be my number 2, is definitely something that's helped me move forward from the concept of jealousy, when sometimes the jealousy isn't really the fact that you want what somebody else wants. And the jealousy can, in fact, actually be conditioning due to a person that has abused you in the past, that is conditioning you to always compare yourself to another person because your mother or father or ex or friend or neighbor is always comparing you to another person as in a lower light to the next person, consistently conditioning you to do the same. So it's good to be mindful of that, and it's good to ask yourself, like, if you ever catch yourself behaving jealous or feeling jealous, even though you know that's not what you want, you're like, well, why am I feeling this way if I know that's not actually what I want? Evaluate where that came from and ask yourself, is it because somebody else was always comparing you to another person all the time? Therefore, you're conditioned to compare yourself to other people all the time. Number 3, sometimes it can actually due to be very narcissistic. Now, I know that the word narcissistic is thrown around a lot these days, so I don't want to say 100% that's why, but one of the reasons could be narcissism. One reason why I say that is being jealous all the time is because, first of all narcissists are very jealous people. Secondly, is because it could be just the need for attention and to get validation from others, and to always feel the need to want to be the center of attention all the time. And that's not okay. You know, we have to be okay with, it's good to shine. I think it's ridiculous that we have to always dim our light for other people due to jealous people. I do not agree with it. I honestly 100% believe that we should be allowed to shine and be great and be happy without somebody looking at us with evil, jealous, envious eyes. We should be allowed to be great. That's our birthright, to be great and be happy and be whole and to shine like the stars and feel no guilt for it. But if you can't allow someone else to shine, it's not fair. You know, it's okay for other people to shine. It's okay for you not to always be the center of attention all the time. And usually where this comes from is a lot of times people who behave this way, I'm going to give you different categories because I don't like to lump every single person who behaves this way in one category. Number 1, it could be from being spoiled growing up. It could be one or the other. It could be the complete opposite. It could be due to neglect and abuse, or it could actually be because of being spoiled growing up. So a lot of times, especially this is a different age these days, where it's like a lot of kids are being raised to be very high entitled and sensitive over everything, scared of everything. This is a different time. We live in a time of cancel culture. Cancel culture is basically people who are extra sensitive all the time. You walk on eggshells over every little thing you say. You know, everything is offended. I'm offended about everything. Everybody is so... We live in a weird time where everyone's so high entitled these days. So if we're raising our children to behave this way, to have these high entitled mindsets, to feel like everything has to be around my emotions all the time, the whole world has to abide by my feelings, and then like the whole world needs to walk on eggshells for you, no, it doesn't work that way. So that can come from being spoiled. Now, if you had a very overbearing parent who never told you no, who let you have whatever you wanted, and whenever you could just throw a fit, have you ever seen kids that just throw fits in stores and the parents like, okay, here you go? That's called being a spoiled brat. So honestly, sometimes the need to be the center of attention all the time, and to always feel like you need to seek attention and to always seek validation from others, and then throwing a little temper tantrum and getting mad when someone else gets to have a gift instead of you, sometimes it could be due to being a spoiled little brat, to be honest. And I think that we need to evaluate that. No, I don't want to be mean, but I'm being honest. If you had all the attention from mommy and daddy, like sometimes I like to call it only child syndrome. Sometimes that's why sometimes it's good to not have one child, because not every time, as long as it's very done gracefully, you know, carefully. Because a lot of time when a child's kind of grown alone, they're used to everything to be about them. The parents are about them, everything, the presents are all about them, everything is center of attention. So this happens a lot with children who grew up, which is about them, only child syndrome. Or just a child that grew up very spoiled and everything, they could just have whatever, anything, they just cried or yelped and whined, they would just get whatever they want. And they grow up into a weird mindset thinking that it always has to be that way, and if anybody else has attention, it's an issue. So I think that we need to be mindful of that character, and we need to be fair. You know, like when you grow up with other siblings, we learn to share. And I think like sometimes when people behave that way, it's literally like this inner child that wants some kind of attention from mommy and daddy still, or some kind of approval. And we need to be okay to let someone else, we need to be able to, like when we're little, we're told to share our toys. It's okay to share. You know, we need to be okay to share. And I don't want to be like putting people down or anything like that, or make you all feel guilty, but you gotta learn to share. You know what I mean? It's okay to let somebody else shine. It's okay to let somebody else win the Oscars. It's okay to let somebody else be happy. It's okay to let somebody else have something that you don't have, or maybe you once had for a little bit and you let go of it. Whatever it is, we need to grow up. And I think that we need to evaluate that. Are you not ready to grow up? Do you just want everything to be about you? Are we being bratty? Are we not acting like adults? You know? Another reason behind that is kind of like it is not kind of, it is. What happens is like neglect and being abused growing up. So if you were growing up and your mother or your father or your caregiver growing up or parental figure didn't ever validate your emotions, didn't ever feel like your needs and wants were important, you were always dismissed, or you were abused constantly, that no matter what, like I said earlier, no matter what you did wasn't good enough, and you would get abused for the most stupidest reasons, or just being abused in general, whatever it is, that's painful, you know. And if we're not dealing with that, from my personal experience, from being abused a lot growing up, I had this weird mindset for the longest time when I was younger. Once I reached like my adulthood, like in my 20s, I had this mindset that I will never let that happen again. And from now on, now that I'm an adult and I'm out the house, I want to make sure that I'm going to be loved and I'm going to get whatever I want. And if I don't get whatever it is that I did not get from my mom or dad growing up, I will punish the person for not giving me whatever it is that my mommy and daddy didn't give me growing up. And that's trauma. And we need to be mindful if we're treating people that way. Like, as in, if I didn't get the attention from mommy and daddy growing up, I expect to have even more extra attention from other people now that I'm out of the house. And if people don't give me that attention, that extra attention to make up for all the lack of attention and the love and affection I didn't get as a child, and if people don't make up for all that trauma for me, and then I'm going to get mad at them and jealous at them and angry at them if they do not fulfill this hole in my heart or this gap that I have within myself that I have not taken the time to fulfill myself. So that is definitely something that I've learned for myself from being abused as a child, that it's not other people's responsibility to fill that up for you. It's your responsibility to fill your own cup up. And then when your cuppeth runneth overeth, then you will have enough love to offer other people and to be able to be open enough to receive it and be loving enough to be able to be okay to watch other people receive love and abundance from the universe and other people as well. So we got to be mindful of our bitterness due to our childhood traumas or our past relationships, that when we feel like we've been neglected and abandoned by people. Like, I've dealt with a lot of abandonment, and it sucks when you have somebody that's supposed to love you and be there, and you put your all into them, and you believed in them 100,000%, and all of a sudden, bam, they abandon you, or they hurt you, or they do something hella janky, hella messed up to you, they do you dirty, and you got to move on with life and try to heal from that, you know? So then when you kind of see people living happy and having an abundant life and not being done dirty, it could feel, jealousy could come up within us and stuff. So I think it's good to be mindful of when we're feeling that and to know where it's coming from. Is it coming from because you honestly were just spoiled growing up and you were given things, and you need to humble yourself and you need to tell yourself, hey, I think it's time to be an adult and stop acting like a spoiled child. I think it's time to grow up, you know? Or is it because you were honestly really neglected and abandoned and hurt growing up, so you need some kind of seek of validation that you're not going to be neglected again, or that you're not going to be abandoned again, or that you're not going to be abused again by your whoever it is that's in your environment. And that's definitely one that I really resonate with, because I've been there and I get it, and it sucks, it hurts. So we need to be mindful of this pain that we have in ourselves and try not to take it out on other people who are not going through that, or who did not have to, my hair's sticking like that, who did not have to go through that in their life, or if they have, they've taken the time to heal from it. Because something I realized too, like sometimes if we grow up with a really hard life, we get jealous of people who haven't grown up in a hard life, and we're like, why did I have to go through this and you didn't? We really have no place to get jealous of how another person was raised. It's not their fault, and it's not our fault. You know what I mean? So it's not going to do anything, honestly. And it's like, there's no reason to hate on somebody else because they got to be, let's say, for example, be raised in maybe a more calmer, peaceful environment as a child, and then maybe you got raised into an environment that was a lot more neglect, abuse, abandonment, stuff like that. So when these things come up, when we're like, oh my God, I'm jealous of this person because this person is at a place that I want to be and I can't be there, I want to be jealous of them, it's not fair. It is fair if you're not dealing with it. If you're not talking to somebody, if you're not doing the work, if you're not taking the time to meditate and really evaluate and really deal with it, writing your thoughts down, taking the time to heal, doing spiritual baths or prayers or whatever it is that you believe, it's really up to us, and we need to take accountability to heal that within us. And being jealous about other people who are at a state that we want to be in, it's not helping us. It's not gonna all of a sudden, because we're jealous, gonna make us be in a better place. It's not gonna gift us anything. If anything, it's just gonna put you in a deeper like a hole full of resentment and anger and depression. And it's just like you're kind of digging yourself in a deeper hole, and it's not helping. It's not helping anybody. It's not helping the person, and anything else you probably could be ruining in a relationship with a person you could be cool with, you know? So when these feelings come up, it's good to just be mindful of your own, and what it basically tells you what you need to work on. It's like your shadow self. I mentioned a lot about our shadow self in a lot of my videos. It's basically your shadow saying, hey, if this is what's coming up and it's bothering you, that means it's something you need to work on. That means that's something that you're ignoring and you are not working on, you're not fixing it, and you're not evaluating it, and you're not healing it, and you need to. And it's going to keep popping up and keep popping up and keep popping up and keep agitating you until you finally say, hey, okay, shadow self, let's work this out. Let's figure this out. Let's talk. Let's evaluate. Let's heal, you know? So my next one is, this is a different one that I know a lot of you probably never heard of, but this is something I've definitely realized. Number 4 is does the jealousy actually belong to you? So I'm empathic. So, and being an empathic person basically means we're sensitive to other people's energy, and we can soak in other people's energy into our own and feel the emotions of what other person is feeling without even knowing how they feel, without them telling us. We could just feel it as if it's ours. We could feel a person's sickness. We could feel a person's depression, sadness, anger, intention. And some of us are more sensitive to others. So something that I realized too is, if you know you're not a very jealous person majority of the time, and you know that you're actually not jealous of that person, but it's coming up really, really strong, sometimes it doesn't belong to you. Like, honestly, sometimes you could be feeling the jealousy of the other person being jealous of you, and you're feeling it so strong that you think it's yours. And then once the best way to know if it belongs to you is if you step away from the person and all of a sudden it goes away, then most likely it could, not saying 100%, but it could be because it was that person's jealousy that you were feeling, and it doesn't even belong to you. So it's like an energy swap, you know? So that's something to be mindful too. I made a video on how to protect your energy from unwanted energy, how to block other people's energy if you were empathic. So please go check that video out on how to protect your energy. Or I think I have one on protecting your energy, and I have another one on how to control your empathic gifts. So there's 2 videos you go check out. If you feel like you could feel another person's jealousy and it's really driving you crazy, and you know it's not yours, and you're questioning that frequency, it's good to step away from the person where you really reevaluate it, and then to figure out if it's really, is it that person's jealousy, or is it yours, or is it both, or what's up with the frequency of the energy that's going on? Is it somebody else in the room that maybe you're with another person, and maybe both of you are jealous of another person, and you're picking up on some kind of frequency or something like that? Because you might not be jealous, you might actually just pick up on other people's jealousy, and you could feel the frequency, and it's really agitating you and bothering you, because I can feel that sometimes. So it's good to be mindful of what belongs to you energetic wise and what doesn't belong to you. Just like if you feel somebody being sad and depressed, if you're around them enough, you're going to feel depressed and sad. And it doesn't mean you're a depressed and sad person. You just are hanging out with sad and depressed people. So you gotta be careful who you hang out with. If you're constantly hanging out with jealous people, if you're constantly watching things that have to do like YouTube videos or like talk shows that has to do with people just talking crap about other people due to jealousy issues because they're jealous, it's gonna rub off on you, you know, and it's gonna kind of put you into a frequency that the energy doesn't even belong to you. It's not yours. It's somebody else or some other people's issue. So that's definitely one to be mindful of. Number 5 is the most obvious. It's insecurity. I'm going to end with that one because it's the most obvious. If you're constantly being jealous all the time, that probably should have been number 1, is insecurities. You don't feel like you have it in you to make more money, or you don't feel like you're smart enough to go to school, or you don't feel like you're confident enough to accomplish whatever goals you want to accomplish, or maybe you don't feel like you're pretty enough, or maybe you just feel like, or maybe like lack of money can make you feel sometimes, make us feel very insecure when we're having money problems and stuff like that. And that being said, I think that we need to be mindful of things being temporary, you know, and understanding that if you have money problems, you're not always going to have money problems. Money comes and goes, you know, so stop being so insecure about it and being jealous of people who have it, because money is available everywhere. Another one would be an insecurity of relationships. Sometimes we could see people being in a happy marriage, and we want that, and we don't have it, or we can't figure out how to have it. That being said, we always know that it's always different behind closed doors, especially if you're watching like couples online. It's like they have like the most happiest, perfect life. No one's life is perfect. No marriage is perfect. No relationship is perfect. No, there's always things that happen behind closed doors that's not so perfect. That you might not even want yourself. I'm not saying to like always suppose the worst on people, but we need to be realistic. Just like how I said before, how people always put up this front online, how great their home is, how great their cars are, and that it might not even be their stuff. You know what I mean? So even if it is, you know, when it comes to relationships, being jealous of other people's marriages or family life, and we don't have that, we need to evaluate ourselves and ask, like, what is it within us that we can't build that? What do I need to fix so I can have that happy family or that happy marriage? Or what, like I said earlier, what can we fix so, or like, for example, you're jealous of somebody going to college and you're not. How do you fix it? Go to college. It's that simple. You're jealous of a person's position that you don't have. What do? You fight for it. You keep fighting to get the position you want. You keep fighting to get the job you want. You keep working for the business that you want, or the money that you want, or the house that you want. Because if you keep your eyes on your road and stop staring at what's on other people's road, that's how you actually heal jealousy, is keeping your eyes on your track and stop worrying about what's going on with other people's lives, because it honestly doesn't matter. We don't need to be comparing ourselves to the Kardashians. You know what I mean? We don't need to. There is no comparison. You know, we're all beautiful in our own way. We're all built in our own way. We are all great in our own way. We all have our own talents. We all have our own things that make us us. We all have our own fingerprints, our own eyes, our own whatever it is that makes us us, that makes us wonderful. And to be honest, why would you want to be like another person? Why would you want to be another person, honestly, when you could be you? You know? Like, something I realized that the way to heal yourself from jealousy is to realize you honestly don't want anything anybody else has. You don't. You don't want anything what anybody else has. You want your life. You want your dream car. You want your dream home. You want your dream family. You want your dream business. And you want your success story. That belongs to you and nobody else. Just like that person's success story belongs to them and nobody else. So like, that's how I've learned to get rid of the whole jealousy thing, is actually realizing that you honestly don't want what other people have. Jealousy is convincing yourself that you want what other people have. You don't want what other people have. You want your successful story. You want to master your money. You want to master your love life. You want to master your perfect body. You want to master your path. So why be jealous of anybody else? Because there is not one person on this planet that you want to be just like. Not one. There is not one other person on this planet that you want that you want their spouse, you want their job, you want their car, you want their house, you want their kids. There's not one other person in this entire universe that you actually want everything that they have. You don't. Boom. Jealousy solved. Jealousy, I just resolved all jealousy just there. Right now. If you realize that you don't want what anybody else has, and you only want to master yourself, and you only want to master your life and your reality, that's honestly what you want. You want to master you, and you want to be successful in your life. It has nothing to do with what your neighbors are doing. It has nothing to do with what anybody else is doing on TV, in the music videos, or whoever. It has nothing to do with any of that. Because whatever's happening in the whole entire world, you're still going to be on your path, and you're still going to be you, and you're still going to want those things for you. Not because somebody else told you to want it, not because somebody else is doing it. If you want to do things because somebody else is doing it, you might want to find yourself. Because nobody is you. You know? Everybody came here for a purpose, and everybody has their own destiny, and everybody's direction to their destiny is different. Therefore, there's no room or space for jealousy. There's really not. As long as we realize that, as long as we keep repeating in our head that I want to master myself, and I want to master my own reality and take ownership of my soul contract here on this planet, that right there is the affirmation of the day, pretty much. So adopt those manifestations, or adopt those affirmations for yourself to manifest whatever it is that you want, and not worry about what other people are doing. And you just healed your jealousy, honestly. So the next video is going to be on how to find your confidence during a rough patch. So I did make a video a long time ago, focus on like the solar plexus. I do a lot of like chakra type of stuff on confidence. So I don't want to aim this next video on just confidence. I want to aim it towards confidence when life sucks. A very particular moment. So if you like that kind of stuff, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mind of Ro. I hope everyone is having a very strong-minded evening in life path. Uncle Jasaneb, Namaste, Odabo. Peace, y'all.